I dialed the number fast. No hesitation, just habit. It rang once, twice, then picked up. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "What time should I come by for the grand opening? I'll bring coffee," or Tara cut in, flat and sharp. That was last night. A pause. Only important people were invited. Silence. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Her voice stayed light. Anyway, it went great. We were packed. In the background, I heard Jason laugh, a deep, careless sound. His voice mumbled something I couldn't catch. I hung up before she finished. The kitchen light buzzed overhead. I stared at the phone still in my hand. My coffee had gone cold. Last night, they opened his bar, the one he talked about since college. The one I co-signed the lease for. The one I loaned him money for. The one I painted walls for when they couldn't afford contractors. I wasn't even told it happened. Not invited, not mentioned. Only important people. I sat down hard at the table. My body moved like it didn't belong to me. My hand found the edge of the counter gripping tight. I thought of the cooler I'd packed last week, extra sodas, some snacks I thought they'd like for the big day. I left it outside their door. No one said a word. I remembered Tara's smirk at dinner 2 weeks ago when I brought up centerpieces. "Oh, we'll handle that. It's more contemporary than your style." I smiled then, let it go. Thought maybe I was just imagining things. But today was different. This wasn't oversight. This wasn't preference. This was erasure. I walked to the sink, dumped the coffee, rinsed the cup too long. My fingers shook. I didn't cry. Instead, I wiped the counter. Threw out the planner I'd marked bar grand opening, Fry. That date was wrong. They never planned to include me. Later that afternoon, I got a Venmo request. Jason, $480, post-opening cleanup. No message. No thank you. Just a demand plain as daylight. I stared at it. Then without thinking, I clicked pay. That night I didn't sleep. I laid in bed with the phone on my chest. The fan buzzed. I counted backwards from 100 twice. Nothing worked. At 2:12 a.m., I checked Jason's page. Photos. Smiling faces. Packed bar. Tara holding scissors at the ribbon, his arm around her waist, her parents front and center. Caption. Couldn't have done it without family. No mention of me. I closed the app. Set the phone face down. Sat up in bed. In the dark, I whispered, "You did do it without me." And somehow I meant it both ways. The next morning, I got up early. No appetite. I stood in the doorway, watching the driveway as if someone might appear. No one did. I walked into the office, opened the drawer, pulled out the file I hadn't touched in over a year. Under receipts and old tax forms sat a thick manila envelope. I took it out, flipped it open, and there it was. The lease. Signed. Still under my name. I opened the app before I finished my first sip of coffee. There it was, bright, bold, impossible to miss. $480. Bar cleanup. No note, no greeting. Just a request, like I was a bill to be collected. Sent at 6:17 a.m. Jason didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask how I was, didn't ask if I'd seen the pictures. He just wanted the money. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered. I could have declined it. Could have written back. Ask your in-laws. But I didn't. I hit pay. Not because I agreed. Not because I wanted to. Because it was automatic. Conditioned. A reflex I hadn't unlearned yet. It felt like muscle memory, like how you'd catch a glass falling off the table, even if the person who dropped it never thanked you. The app chimed. Transaction complete. I locked the phone. Let it slide onto the counter. The room stayed quiet. Just the hum of the fridge, the tick of the wall clock, and the steady drip of a faucet that needed replacing. Outside, the trash truck groaned past. I hadn't taken mine out. Didn't care. By 9, I'd changed clothes, pulled on an old cardigan, and walked to the grocery store. I didn't need anything. I just couldn't sit still. The cashier asked how my weekend was. I said, "Quiet." She smiled. "That's nice." I nodded. Pretended it was. I walked the long way home, past the flower shop Jason used to run into as a boy, waving a crumpled $5 bill to buy me whatever would fit. Past the church, where I used to volunteer for their fundraisers. Past nothing that remembered me now. Back at home, I made soup. Too much for one person, but I cooked out of habit. I set the table for two. Forgot, then cleared the second place. My phone buzzed again. Not Jason. A like on a post I didn't remember making. I turned it face down. I wasn't angry, not yet. But something had started to dull inside me, some warmth I didn't know had a limit. I'd loved him without asking for much, and now they didn't even bother pretending. I sat on the couch, soup untouched, the manila envelope still resting on the table near me. The lease felt heavier now. Not just ink and dates, but proof. Proof that I mattered once, that they needed me then even if they denied it now. I opened it again, checked the signatures, dates, read the line that named me as sole financial guarantor. No expiration, no revision. They hadn't changed it. Never filed anything new. They didn't even look back far enough to remember whose name held it all up. And that, I realized, was their biggest mistake. I closed the folder, slid it back under the others just far enough to reach when I needed it. I stood up, poured the soup into containers, let the kitchen go dark behind me. The phone buzzed again the next morning. Tara, this time. Her message was short. "We're gonna need another $2,000 by Friday, just until the bar's stable." I texted on Tuesday, asked if they were free for dinner. Friday night, Tara replied 3 hours later. "Sure, we're free." No smiley face. No sounds good. Just 3 flat words. I booked the table at Miller's Grill. Jason used to love their pulled pork sandwiches. I picked a time that worked around their bar hours, paid the deposit up front. I showed up 5 minutes early. Sat alone for 10 more. They arrived laughing. Tara in a fitted dress. Jason in a shirt I bought him last Christmas. He didn't look at me, just glanced down at his phone and muttered, "Hey." Tara smiled wide, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. "Hi, Marlene. This place is cute. Quaint." "Nice to see you," I said. I pulled out the chair for her. She didn't notice. We sat. The waitress came. I let them order first. Jason asked for the ribeye. Tara ordered wine, then turned to me. "Are you eating or just snacking tonight?" I smiled like it didn't sting. "Just a salad." Tara leaned back. "Good choice. I can never finish anything big either." "Not at our age, right?" Jason snorted. I looked at him. He still didn't meet my eyes. They talked about the bar, new speakers, new drink menu, maybe live music next month. I nodded, gave the right sounds, smiled in the right places. They didn't ask what I'd been up to, didn't mention the money, didn't thank me. When the food came, Jason picked up his fork and started eating before I got my napkin unfolded. Tara checked her phone 3 times during dinner. I watched the butter melt on the bread I wasn't hungry for. I asked how the grand opening went. Jason said, "Good turnout." That was it. I asked who came. Tara answered all the important people, then smiled again like it was a joke. I felt my throat close. I reached for my water. My hand didn't shake. I made sure of it. After dessert, the waitress brought the check. Set it down gently. Tara didn't look at it. Jason kept scrolling through something on his phone. I reached for my purse, pulled out my card. Jason looked up just as I slid it across the table. "You don't have to," he started. Tara interrupted. "Thanks, Marlene. That's sweet." They both stood before I could say anything else. Jason kissed the top of my head quickly. "Appreciate dinner. We've got to head back. There's a shipment coming." I nodded, stood too. My napkin slipped to the floor. No one noticed. Outside, the wind had picked up. Tara's hair blew across her face. Jason held the car door open for her. "Drive safe," I said. They waved, drove off. I stood there for a while watching the red taillights disappear. The night air felt too cold for April. When I got home, the receipt was still in my pocket. I laid it on the counter. $142.67. I didn't bother writing it down in the ledger. I knew it wouldn't be the last. Saturday morning, I drove to the bakery, bought a box of pastries. Jason once liked the lemon tarts. I left them on the bar's back door with a note. "Thought you might need a snack break. M." No reply came. I parked around the corner. Didn't want to block the alley entrance. The pastry box sat on the passenger seat. Still warm. I'd left home early to get their favorites. 2 lemon tarts, a cheese, Danish, a cinnamon twist. No ribbon. Just a sticky note with their names. Simple. Quiet. I carried it up the steps, knocked once, then twice. Jason opened the back door halfway. His eyes landed on the box. "Hey," I said. "Just thought I'd drop these off. Figured you haven't had breakfast." He glanced behind him, then stepped aside. Before I could move forward, Tara's voice cut through the music inside. "Wait, what's going on?" She appeared, fast eyes sharp, arms crossed. Jason said nothing. "I brought some pastries," I said. Didn't mean to interrupt. Tara smiled, tight, then rehearsed. "That's thoughtful, but it's kind of a work zone in here, Marlene. Not much room." She stepped closer to the door. Jason didn't move. "I'll just set them down," I said. "Then I'll head out." Tara blocked the doorway with her arm. "Maybe next time just call ahead," she said. Still smiling, Jason's eyes stayed fixed on the wall behind me. I nodded. No fight. No questions. Just nodded. I placed the box gently on the steps. Stepped back. Waited for someone to say something else. They didn't. Tara turned. Jason followed. The door closed behind them. I stood there another few seconds, then walked back to the car. Didn't cry. Didn't speak. Just drove home, slow the radio off, both windows down, even though the air was still sharp. When I got inside, I made coffee. Stared out the window. Watched a squirrel run the fence line and vanish behind the neighbor's shed. No message came. No thank you. No picture of them holding the tarts. By noon, I figured they hadn't touched them. By evening, I knew they hadn't. I washed the mugs in the sink, folded the dish towel, then sat at the table with the lease again. I ran my fingers along the signature, not out of pride, just to feel something that still mattered. Because right now, I didn't. Not to them. Sunday, I didn't go to church. I couldn't face the usual questions. "How's Jason? How's the bar? You must be so proud." I turned off my phone. Sat on the porch. Let the quiet fill the corners of the day. By nightfall, I'd made a decision. I pulled out my old planner, found an empty page, and wrote 3 names down. Mr. Halperin, bank manager, W. Main Branch. County office deed copies. Then I circled the last one. I yanked open the file cabinet before I changed my mind. Pushed past old tax folders, expired insurance papers, receipts from birthdays they don't remember. Dug until I found the thick manila envelope. It was there, exactly where I'd left it. I sat down at the kitchen table, slid the papers out, and flattened them with both hands. Top page, commercial lease agreement. Date almost 2 years ago. Tenant, Marlene Dorsey. Not Jason, not Tara. Just me. I flipped through it slowly, page by page. My handwriting filled in every blank. My signature at the bottom. My bank statements to prove I paid the deposit, the first 6 months, the permit application fee. Jason had asked me to front it just to get the paperwork started. "We'll transfer it once we're settled, Mom. It's just logistics." I'd nodded. Believed him. Trusted he'd follow through. They never brought it up again. And I never pushed. Until now. I scanned the line that mattered most. The tenant is the sole financial and legal authority on the premises unless a formal amendment is filed. They hadn't filed one. I called the clerk last month for something else and remembered her saying only one name was ever attached to the property. They hadn't changed a thing because they'd forgotten who helped them build it. I reached for a pen, circled that line, sat back and stared. Everything they were doing, the late rent, the requests for money, the public cold shoulder, they all assumed I had nothing left to give or take. But this paper said otherwise. This lease still had weight. I wasn't just the one who brought pastries. I was the name holding the roof above their heads. I put the papers back into the envelope, sealed it, and placed it in a blue folder. Then I slid the folder into the top drawer beside my birth certificate, my passport, and the spare key to the shed. That night, I made myself a stronger cup of coffee than usual. Didn't answer texts, didn't scroll. Just sat in the quiet and let my heartbeat settle. They thought I was fading. Easy. Safe, but I was still here. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like the one on the outside looking in. I felt like the one watching from higher ground. The next morning, I called the bank. Asked to make an appointment. The woman on the other end said, "We've got something tomorrow afternoon." I said, "Put me down. I'll bring my paperwork." I walked into the branch 15 minutes early, folder in hand. The receptionist smiled, offered me water. I declined. A few minutes later, Mr. Lambert came out from his office. Still the same neat haircut, same navy suit he always wore. He'd helped me refinance the house 3 years ago, back when Jason still called me Mom without looking tired. "Marlene," he said warmly, "good to see you again. Come on back." I sat across from his desk, placed the folder on my lap. "I need to make a few changes," I said. "Stop the automatic transfers into my son's account. Both of them. Effective immediately." His brow lifted slightly, but he nodded. "Of course. You'll just need to sign here and here. I read everything. Twice." Signed slow. While he typed, I glanced around the office. Same dull painting on the wall, same fake plant in the corner. Then his fingers paused on the keyboard. He looked up. "Just so you're aware," he said gently, "Jason came in last month. Asked about adding himself as a co-owner on your accounts." My stomach pulled tight. "He what?" Lambert cleared his throat. "He said it might be time. That you were starting to forget things, missing due dates, maybe putting yourself at risk." He didn't meet my eyes when he said it. I felt the heat rise to my face. Not from embarrassment, from something deeper, something sharper. "I've never missed a payment," I said quietly. "Never once." "I know," he replied. "That's why I told him nothing could be changed without your signature. But I figured you should know." He seemed persistent. I sat back in the chair, pressed my hands together to keep them from curling into fists. "He ever mentioned this to you?" he asked. "No." The word came out like a stone dropping. I thought back to the week before. Jason barely looking at me. Tara speaking for both of them. That check dropped in front of me at dinner. And now this. He wasn't just keeping me out of his life. He was laying the groundwork to erase me. I nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me." He hesitated. "Do you want to add a security note? Something to flag your file?" "Yes," I said. "Add this. No account changes unless I'm here in person. No exceptions." He typed it in, clicked save, then looked up. "Anything else I can help you with today?" I opened the folder, pulled out the lease. "One more thing. This property's still legally under my name. My son runs a bar there. If he defaults or makes changes without consent, how do I protect my liability?" He whistled low under his breath. "You're the guarantor. From the beginning." He leaned forward. "Then you've got leverage. A lot more than he thinks." I nodded once, took the papers back, stood up. Lambert shook my hand firmly. As I walked out, The sun hit me hard. I squinted, kept walking. My steps faster than usual. I wasn't going to warn Jason, not yet. But the moment he tried again, I'd be ready. I opened the app and saw nothing. No photos, no updates, no stories. Tara had blocked me. I checked Jason's page. Gone too. I tried searching from the browser. The accounts were still up, still public. Just invisible to me. I put the phone down. Picked it up again. Sent Jason a text. Everything okay? No reply. I waited 4 hours. Sent another. Just checking in. Let me know if you got this. Silence. By evening, I knew it wasn't a glitch. It was a choice. I opened my contacts list. Scrolled through names I hadn't touched in months. Cynthia from church. Rebecca from the old PTA. Nancy, who used to call after holidays just to catch up. I started with Rebecca. Hi, I said when she picked up. It's Marlene. A pause. Then a cheery, too bright voice. Oh, hey there. How have you been? All right. Just wondering if you've seen Jason or Tara lately. Another pause. Too long. Well, I mean, I hear bits and pieces. Tara mentioned you'd been a little, I don't know, tired lately. Tired, I repeated. She said you'd been overwhelmed, that maybe you needed some space. Is everything all right? I held the phone tighter. They said that. Well, not in so many words. Just, worried about you. I thanked her. Hung up, then sat in the stillness of my kitchen. The same spot I used to sit in when Jason came home from school dragging his backpack asking what's for dinner. Now I was the subject of concern in rooms I wasn't invited into. I scrolled again. Found Cynthia. Texted instead of calling. Hope you're well. Miss seeing you. No response. 20 minutes later, the delivered status vanished. I turned off my phone. I wasn't losing my memory. I wasn't forgetting bills. I wasn't overwhelmed. They were removing me, not loudly, not cruelly, just slowly, until no one noticed I'd been erased. That night, I made coffee just to hold something warm. I didn't drink it. Let it go cold on the porch railing. Let the silence thicken. In the dark, I made a list. Lease, secure bank, protected witness, pending. I circled the last one. Because isolation works best when no one's watching. But I was watching now. I pushed open the church hall door with one hand, balancing the gift bag in the other. The room was already loud, women laughing, a table stacked with pastel cupcakes, someone shaking ice in a punch bowl. I spotted my friend Denise waving from across the crowd. Marlene, you made it. I smiled. Lifted the bag, moved toward her. The air smelled like sugar and cheap paper decorations. Familiar. Safe. I'll set this in the back, I said. She nodded and turned to greet someone else. I slipped down the side hallway toward the coat racks, grateful for a moment of quiet. But halfway down, I froze. Tara's voice drifted from the open doorway of the storage room. Sharp. Confident. The tone she used when she knew she had an audience. And she thinks she owns the place, she said, laughing, like signing one paper makes her some kind of landlord. Another burst of laughter followed, higher, nervous. Then Jason's voice. Come on, babe. She helped. It's fine. Tara snorted. Helped. She paid for it. That's all. She's a wallet, not a partner. Someone else giggled. Does she still try to drop by? Oh yeah, Tara said. She shows up with pastries like we're starving children. It's pathetic. The woman really thinks she's part of the business. My throat tightened. I gripped the gift bag until the handles cut into my palm. Jason chuckled again, not defending me, not even pausing. Mom's always been like that. Won't let go. Won't let go. I stepped back slowly, careful not to hit the wall or knock over a decoration. The hallway felt narrower, the air thick. My heart thudded against my ribs in small, sharp beats. They didn't know I was there, didn't lower their voices, didn't hesitate to slice me open, clean, casual, familiar. I stayed still, listening, because I couldn't seem to move. Tara kept going. She's been getting a little off, too. Did you see the way she looked at you at dinner? Like she expected an invitation to everything. She needs to understand boundaries. Jason hummed. Agreement, not concern. She'll calm down. She always does. A chair scraped. Footsteps shifted. I stepped quickly into the tiny alcove near the bathroom door, pressing myself flat against the wall, breath held tight. I stayed there until their voices faded, replaced by the bright chatter of the party. When I finally walked out, my smile was ready. I'd been practicing it for weeks. Denise saw me first. "You all right? Took you a bit. Just dropped the gift," I said. My voice didn't shake. I was grateful for that. I stood near the punch bowl for most of the shower, nodding at jokes I didn't hear, clapping at presents I didn't see. My mind stayed in that hallway, replaying each word until they carved themselves into something steady inside me. A wallet, not a partner. Pathetic. Won't let go. On the drive home, the mountains looked still and indifferent. I kept both hands on the wheel, the radio off the road humming beneath the tires. When I reached my driveway, I didn't go inside right away. I stayed in the car, staring at the porch light I'd forgotten to replace. Then I stepped out, walked straight to the kitchen table and pulled the lease folder toward me. Their voices still echoed sharp as broken glass. And that was when I knew the time for watching was ending. I laid the lease on the front seat, smoothed the corner, and drove to Halpern & Price without turning on the radio. The silence helped me breathe, helped me keep the words from that hallway from shaking loose in my chest. When I walked in, the receptionist looked up with a polite smile. "Morning, Ms. Dorsey. You have an appointment with Mr. Halpern, I do." She nodded toward his office door. "He's ready for you." I pushed the door open and found him exactly as I remembered. Glasses low on his nose, sleeves rolled up a desk full of neatly stacked folders. He stood when he saw me. "Well," he said, "this is a surprise. Haven't seen you since you updated your will." I sat, placed the folder on the edge of his desk. "I need help," I said. Quiet help. He studied me for a second, decided something, then pulled the folder closer. "What are we working with?" I opened it. Lease on top. Behind it, receipts, bank transfers, screenshots, dates highlighted in yellow. He flipped through the pages slowly. No raised brow, no gasp. Just the slow inhale of someone adding up something ugly. "You're the sole tenant on the property," he said. "And you've funded most of this." "All of it," I corrected. "They never paid back a cent." He tapped the lease with his pen. "This gives you full authority over the space. If they're violating terms, you can terminate the agreement. With notice. I want the notice drawn up." His eyes met mine. "This is a serious step, Marlene. Once you start, you can't undo it." "I know." He nodded slowly, turned to his computer. His fingers began tapping keys with a steady rhythm. I watched the back of his hands as he typed. The small scars from yard work, the faded gold ring he still wore even after his divorce. After a few minutes, he said, "Tell me everything." So I did. Not the emotional pieces, not the baby shower hallway or the dinner bill. I told him the facts. The blocked accounts, the auto transfer attempts, the bank manager's warning, the ignored texts, the rent requests, the way they used my name to secure contracts, permits, and loans. When I finished, he blew out a slow breath. "They've built a structure on your foundation," he said, "and they think you'll never shake it." He printed the first draft, slid it toward me. 30-day notice of termination for non-compliance of lease terms. Seeing it in black and white hit harder than I expected. My name at the top, Jason's at the bottom. The reason: failure to meet payment terms, unauthorized modifications, misuse of property. He handed me a pen. "Sign here, here, and initial there." I signed. My handwriting stayed steady. The pen didn't slip once. When I finished, he gathered the papers, clipped them neatly, placed them in a labeled envelope. "I'll file the documentation with the county first," he said. "Nothing is public yet. You decide when we serve it." "Not yet," I said. "I'm not ready." He leaned back, folded his hands. "Waiting is fine. Just don't wait too long. People like this, once they sense resistance, they push harder." "I know." He stood, walked me out to the lobby, then lowered his voice. "Marlene, you're doing the right thing. Don't let guilt confuse that." I nodded, took the envelope, stepped outside into air that felt too clean for the weight I carried. The wind tugged gently at my coat. The mountains looked dull under the gray sky. I held the envelope tighter. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't loud. It was a beginning. When I got home, I set it in the top drawer beside the lease. Then I sat at the table, staring at the wood grain, waiting for the next move to reveal itself. The voicemail came in at 9:12 p.m. I didn't rush to listen. I let the phone buzz once, twice, then fall silent on the counter. I waited until the kettle cooled, until the house dimmed. Then I pressed play. Tara's voice spilled out tight and syrupy. "Hey, Marlene. So, listen, the rent's overdue again, and we're kind of in a bind. We thought it was on auto, but anyway, your name's still on everything, so technically it's your credit at stake. Could you just wire the $3,000 again? Like last time, we'll pay you back soon. Promise. No greeting, no apology, no shame. Just the assumption I'd obey." I deleted the message. Didn't listen to it twice. Instead, I reached into the drawer, pulled out the envelope Halperin gave me, and set it flat on the table. The seal was still unbroken. That wouldn't last long. I picked up my phone, hit redial. Jason didn't answer. Of course not. So I tried again. This time I left my own message. My voice didn't waver. "Jason, I got Tara's voicemail. You've had months to transfer the lease. You didn't. You've had months to include me, even acknowledge me. You didn't. And now you want money." I paused. "Didn't I tell you I'm not on your team anymore?" I hung up. Then I went to the sink, washed my hands, dried them on the same towel I'd had since he was 10. The one with the red stitching from a school project. The thread was faded now, worn through in places. I folded it, tucked it back into the drawer, and turned to the envelope. I sliced it open, slipped out the 30-day notice, checked everything one more time. Nothing had changed. Date today. Cause non-compliance, unpaid rent, unauthorized use. Signature mine. I slid it into a new envelope, sealed it, and addressed it to the bar. Then I walked out into the cold, turned the key in the mailbox slot, and let it fall. It was done. No confrontation, no threats, just facts. Legal. Clean. The next move belonged to them. When I returned inside, I brewed a cup of coffee. Sat at the table. Let the warmth sink into my hands. For the first time in weeks, my body wasn't tight. My breath didn't catch. They had built everything under the assumption I would stay quiet, that I would keep paying, that I would keep waiting, but they had forgotten something. None of it stood without me. And now I had simply stepped away. I dumped the manila folder on Halperin's desk. Receipts spilled out. Printed emails, bank statements, photos of texts, even screenshots from the bar's public page. Tara bragging about the grand opening, Jason toasting under the banner I paid for. Halperin adjusted his glasses. "You've been busy." "I don't sleep much," I said. He started sorting. His fingers moved fast, methodical, no wasted motion. I sat across from him, arms crossed, breath steady. He stacked the signed lease agreement on top. Still in your name. No amendments. No sublease form. No formal transfer. They've got nothing binding here. I nodded. They never even asked. Next, he pulled up the bank statements I printed. Circled auto transfers with a red pen. Thousands over 8 months. No repayment. No record of agreement. This counts as unauthorized financial support. He glanced up. You ask for it back? No, that's not what this is about. He grunted approval. Cleaner that way. He tapped on his laptop, opened the audio file I'd recorded. Tara's voice poured through the speakers, slightly muffled from the hallway recording. She thinks she owns the place. She just paid for it. Then Jason's laugh. She's a wallet, not a partner. Halperin sat back, exhaled slowly. Idiots. I didn't answer. He leaned forward again, expression changing. You have everything, Marlene. This is airtight. No judge, no board, no arbitration panel could argue against this. I'm not suing them, I said. Not yet, he corrected. He slid the evidence into organized stacks, added labels, stamped the top document with today's date. Then he looked at me, careful, quiet. Are you sure you don't want to warn them? I shook my head. They warned me. He leaned back again, hands folded now. You could take the property back tomorrow. Change the locks. Call a marshal. Legally, it's yours. I know, and if they try to retaliate, I'm ready. We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then I stood. Keep a copy of everything I said. I'll need it soon. Where are you going? I picked up my coat. Somewhere public. He raised a brow. I want them to hear the silence before the snap. The text came in at 10:03 a.m. Jason, can you just wire $2,000 for inventory? Just for now. We're stretched thin. Tara doesn't know I'm asking. I stared at the screen for a long time. No apology, no check-in, just the usual grab. I replied simply, me. Of course. Come over tonight to sign something first. His answer came back quick. Jason, sure. 8, okay. Me, perfect. I set the phone down, stood and walked to the cabinet, pulled out 2 blank folders, labeled both. Lease addendum, final review terms of property use, owner consent. I filled one with the real documents, termination, debt summary, copies of the receipts, the messages, the lease. I filled the other with copies, stripped of meaning, watered down, the kind of pages someone would skim and nod through if they were only chasing money. Both folders went into my drawer. I brewed coffee, cleaned the kitchen, waited. At 7:52 p.m., his car pulled up. I didn't open the door right away. Let him knock twice. Then I let him in. He smiled sheepish, hands in his jacket pockets, hair still messy from whatever stress he'd come from. Hey, Mom. I nodded. Come in. He sat at the table, looked around like he hadn't been there 1,000 times. Coffee. Please, I poured. No sugar, no milk. He didn't complain, so he said, rubbing his hands together. Tara doesn't know I'm asking. Things are a little tight this month. Bar's fine, just suppliers are pushing us. You know how it is. I didn't nod. He kept going. I'll pay you back. Like always. I placed a folder in front of him. Just need you to sign this, I said. It's nothing complicated. Just for my records. States what the money's for, that it's a temporary loan, that I'm not liable for taxes or penalties. He stared at the folder. Blinked twice. I mean, do I need a lawyer for this? You're welcome to bring one, or you can sign and leave with the funds. His fingers twitched. After a second, he opened the folder. It was the watered-down version, the one that didn't bite, just enough to look official, sound boring. He skimmed, didn't flip all the pages. Okay, he muttered. No big deal, he signed. I handed him the coffee-stained envelope with $2,000 in cash. No transfers, no trace. He stood, sipped, didn't thank me. At the door, he hesitated. We'll get everything back on track soon. Just a rough patch. I didn't answer. He left. I closed the door, locked it, and returned to the table. Opened the real folder, matched the signature pages. Then I filed it neatly, carefully, right behind the eviction notice. The last ask had been made. The last yes had been given. Now all that was left was the last word. I slid the second folder across the counter. This one's just a formality, I said. A follow-up. Needed it witnessed for my files. Jason didn't flinch, didn't ask questions. He leaned on the kitchen island pen, already in hand. What's it say again? Just confirms what you signed yesterday, that the money was temporary, that it doesn't affect ownership, that I'm not liable for anything tied to the business. He chuckled. You and your paperwork. His fingers moved fast, lazy signature, loose grip, no pause between lines. I watched the ink dry. The notary sat across the room, clipboard ready. She'd known my family for years. She didn't smile. Jason didn't even ask who she was. Once he was done, she stepped forward. Verified ID stamped the last page, signed cleanly below his scrawl. That was it. It was official. He still didn't read a word. You good? He asked, grabbing his keys. I'm good. He gave me a quick hug. The kind you give someone when your mind is already back at the bar. Thanks again. Really? I nodded. Watched him leave. Once his car pulled away, I sat at the table, opened the signed packet, checked every page. The notary seal glinted under the kitchen light. The final paragraph on page 3, acknowledgement of lease violation and non-compliance terms. Signatory waives rights to challenge notice. His signature sat beneath it. Loose. Thoughtless. Exactly the way he treated me. I slid the packet into the envelope marked Final Trigger. Serve if ignored. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel cruel. Just still. This wasn't revenge. It was truth written in ink. The doorbell rang. I walked in exactly on time. No one greeted me. The lights were low jazz bleeding from the overhead speakers. Tara had rented out the back room. Balloons, candlelight. Cheap linen napkins folded into crooked triangles. The sign on the wall read, 1 year strong. Cheers to legacy. I sat where the only open chair waited, end of the table, half blocked by a speaker stand. My name wasn't on a place card. I didn't ask. They poured drinks, passed appetizers, toasted without me. Jason caught my eye once, then looked away. 10 minutes later, Tara stood, clinked her glass with a silver fork. Everyone a quick word before dessert. Silence fell. Phones lifted. People turned. She beamed like a pageant queen. This year has meant everything to us. Opening a business is hard. Running it is harder. But we did it. We made it. Applause. Jason squeezed her hand. And we couldn't have done it? She continued, without the generous help of someone very special. Heads turned toward me. Tara smiled wider. Our lovely investor, she said. Jason's mom, Marlene. Light claps, polite nods. She believed in us. Really. She signed some papers, helped with some funds, and she's been a silent partner ever since. Laughter. Some of it too loud, too easy. She's always been there. Watching. Smiling. Dropping off pastries. Her tone lifted into mock sweetness. Let's raise a glass to the best silent investor we know. She raised hers. The room followed. I didn't lift mine. I smiled. Wide. Still. The kind that makes people wonder what you know. Tara sat. Pleased. Jason reached for a plate of cheesecake as if nothing had happened. No one noticed I hadn't spoken. No one asked me to. I waited. I let dessert pass. I let coffee cool. And when Tara stood again to announce the photo slideshow, I quietly stood, walked to the front, and tapped the mic. The room paused. Jason froze. Tara blinked. I cleared my throat once. Soft. Then I began. I pushed open the bar door just after 7. Friday night. Packed. Glasses clinking, music, low lights dimmed just enough to make people feel important. Tara was laughing behind the counter. Jason was mid-pour at the tap. Neither saw me at first. I didn't wait. I walked straight to the bar folder and hand coat still on. Jason glanced up, smiled automatically. that fake neutral smile he used for strangers he didn't want to talk to. Then he recognized me. His face stiffened. "Hey, Mom," he said, cautious. Tara stopped laughing. I placed the folder on the bar, pressed it gently so it wouldn't slide. 30 days, I said. Vacate, or I involve the sheriff. He stared. What customers nearby turned. One of the waiters stopped mid-order. Glasses stopped clinking. He reached for the folder but didn't open it. I spoke calmly. Loud enough. The lease is in my name. The rent hasn't been paid. And this, I tapped the folder, is your formal eviction notice. Tara stepped forward, voice sharp. You can't do this here. I just did. Jason opened the folder, read one line, then two. His mouth dropped open. You're kicking us out. You signed the agreement. Twice. I have the notary, the bank records, the messages, the receipts. His hand trembled. This is a business. This is my property. Someone at the bar pulled out their phone. Tara hissed. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I said. I stayed quiet while you embarrassed me. This is something else. Jason shook his head, flipping pages, now eyes wide. You'd ruin your own son. I looked at him for a long moment. No, Jason. You did that yourself. I turned, walked out, didn't flinch when the door slammed behind me. Didn't stop when Tara shouted something I didn't catch. Outside, the air was sharp. Clean. I kept walking, past the cars, past the patio, past the sign with my money behind it. It wouldn't be there much longer. Jason called 4 times. I let it ring. The 5th time, I turned the phone off completely. By the 6th, he was at the door, pounding, then pleading. I didn't answer. The locks had changed that morning, quietly, legally, efficiently. The locksmith asked no questions. He just nodded, replaced the cylinders, handed me the new keys, and left without a word. I watched Jason through the peephole. Hair messy, eyes red, shirt wrinkled like he hadn't slept. He knocked again, then leaned his head against the door. Mom, just please, open it. I stepped back. Said nothing. He didn't know that while he was asleep, I'd called the health department, the liquor board, the fire marshal. The lease violation had ripple effects, none of them minor. By noon, the bar was empty. Staff had walked. Most of them weren't under contract. Tara had insisted on casual agreements. That made them easier to lose. Inventory was untouched. Boxes still stacked behind the bar. Lights still flickering. But the music was gone. The laughter, the noise, the illusion gone. He banged once more. You don't have to do this. But I already had. I stood in the living room silent, watching him fade through the frosted glass as he walked away. That night, the voicemail came. Just one. I messed up. I know I did. I thought you'd always be there. You were always there. I didn't think you'd stop. He paused, took a shaky breath, then quieter. Can we talk? Please? Just tell me what to do. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty. Just clarity. There was nothing left to say that I hadn't already said by letting go. The next morning, I opened the last envelope from Halprin. The deed transfer was complete. Tara posted a photo of an empty bar. Caption in bold. Some people destroy family out of spite. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, all vague enough to let readers project their own villains. Most assumed the worst. Some wrote things like, you don't deserve this, or karma's coming for whoever hurt you. Jason didn't post at all. I scrolled once, then closed the app. No one called. Not a single person I once shared coffee with. No neighbor, no old friend, not even cousins who used to stop by with leftover pie. Silence moves fast when shame is manufactured in public. But one message came through. Just one. It was from Clarissa Tara's old college roommate. We hadn't spoken since the baby shower last spring. Her message was short. I saw what you did, and I'm proud of you. That was it. No questions. No demands. Just recognition. I stared at it for a long time. Then typed, "Thank you." I didn't say anything else. Let the silence stand. Let it carry its own weight. That night I heard from the bank. Jason had tried to access my account again. The request was denied automatically. Flagged. The manager followed up with a polite email. "Would you like to restrict access to all known devices tied to his information?" "Yes," I replied. The spiral was beginning, subtle, slow, but sure. By the next morning, the utilities at the bar were shut off. The supplier canceled their open invoice, said it was policy after contract violations. I didn't have to move, didn't have to call. The steps were already in motion. I sat by the window, hands wrapped around my coffee mug, and watched the wind rattle the empty sign across the street. The bar was still there, but the name, the illusion gone. Jason texted again. "We're ready to talk. Tara says we can work something out. Maybe a small cut of future profits. Just, let's fix this." Tara followed a minute later. "You've made your point. You want to ruin your own blood? We'll give you something. A percentage. But the bar stays ours." I stared at the screen. Let their words sit. Then tapped delete. No reply. No emotion, just quiet. They were trying to bargain from the bottom of a pit they dug, pretending there was still something to offer, still leverage to hold. I went to the drawer, pulled out the signed deed, the transfer papers, the finalized lien removal. All complete. Then I called the number I'd circled 3 weeks earlier, left a message. By noon, they called back. "Yes," I said. "The lease is available, no cost. I want to donate it formally. You have 30 months to use the space. I'll cover the first 2 months of utilities." The voice on the other end trembled. "Are you?" "Sure, I'm sure." It was a youth arts collective, a nonprofit, no funding, no space. Until now. They cried. I didn't. That afternoon I met them at the site, walked through the dust and scuffed floors, showed them where the breaker was, where the storage keys hung, how the registers powered on. They took notes, took photos, took it all in like a second chance they'd never thought possible. I handed them the keys. "Make it beautiful," I said. Jason never knew. Neither did Tara, not yet, but they would. He knocked once, then again. I opened the door. Jason stood there, sunken eyes, hands in his pockets, posture smaller than I'd ever seen. He didn't speak at first, just looked past me into the quiet of the house he used to walk into without knocking. "I didn't know you had it in you," he said. I didn't answer. I stepped aside just enough to reach the small box waiting by the console table, lifted it, held it out. He didn't take it right away. "What is it?" he asked. I didn't explain. He took it, lifted the lid. His face twitched. Hands paused midair. Inside were the receipts from the renovation, the ones I paid, the rent slips, the signed lease copy, screenshots of messages, his Tara's, even the ones I never replied to. A printed photo from the baby shower where they'd laughed about me from across the room, and one audio file burned onto a disc labeled in thick black marker, March 12th bank office. I watched him register each item. His shoulders dropped. "I was just trying to build something," he muttered. "You did," I said. "You just didn't know who laid the foundation." He swallowed, said nothing, held the box tighter. The wind picked up behind him. Loose leaves scraped across the porch. For a second, I thought he might cry. But he didn't. He nodded once. Small, ashamed, then turned. Walked down the steps without another word. I didn't follow. Didn't close the door right away either. I just stood there. Let the air move through the silence. Let the weight of everything leave with him. And then I walked to the kitchen. Poured one last cup of coffee. I pulled the screen door shut behind me. Stepped onto the porch. Sat down slow, let the wood creak beneath me. Set the mug on the table. Steam curled up into the morning air. The trees stood quiet. No cars. No phones. No one needing anything. I wrapped my hands around the cup. It was black ceramic, heavy in the palm. I found it in a small shop off Route 38 2 weeks ago. The letters stamped across it caught my eye. Not fancy. Not sentimental. Just 2 words. Still here. That's it. Not broken. Not reborn. Still here. I sipped. The coffee was strong, bitter, clean. I didn't miss the bar. Didn't miss the noise or the constant text, or Tara's clipped tone saying things like, "It's a business, not a family kitchen." Didn't miss being reduced to a wallet with wrinkles. I looked at the trees, let the sun hit my face. No one knew where I was. Not exactly. Jason hadn't called since the box. No messages. No emails. He had his proof. And now he had his silence. The lease was theirs no longer. The space belonged to paintbrushes, not pint glasses. Kids instead of cocktails. I saw the photos last night, chalk outlines of dream murals already sketched on the floorboards. I smiled. I didn't write back. Didn't need to. The air moved gently. No rush. No sound but wind and pine. I sat there breathing, letting the stillness settle in my bones. And when the mug cooled in my hands, I lifted it again. Drank deep. I wasn't gone. I was never gone. Just quiet. Just waiting. And now still here.